Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Pigskin Addicts, back again with another video. So, as we all seen yesterday, the news about Joe Lombardi, Shane Day, obviously those guys got canned, and it was the right decision, right? I'm not going to sit here and act like it wasn't, or that it was even a surprise, right? It was clearly the right decision, and most Charger fans are happy about it. But the thing about this whole entire situation is this puts pressure on Brandon Staley. It puts a lot of pressure on Brandon Staley. And honestly, all the pressure should be on him. He has a lot to prove as a head coach. There are a lot of people who believe in Brandon Staley. A lot of fans still believe in Brandon Staley. And to be honest with you, their belief, and if you do believe in Brandon Staley, your belief is based off of hope and wishing. We haven't seen anything from Brandon Staley that says that he is going to be a good head coach. We haven't seen anything from Brandon Staley that says he really knows what he's doing defensively. This team, this defense, has been one of the worst defenses in the league since Brandon Staley took over. And that is not arguable, right? That is just a fact. It's a fact. A lot of people don't like it. They might not want to come to grips with it, but it is a fact. This has been one of the worst defenses in the NFL since Brandon Staley took over. So, with everything that's been made about Joe Lombardi and the offense, I think the same pressure needs to go on Brandon Staley and the defense now. Even if the Chargers do hire the best candidate as an offensive coordinator, right, there's still a big issue, and it's obviously this defense. So, at this point, right, are the Chargers robbing Peter to pay Paul? They could be. It could look like it. And if you don't fix this defense, this team still is not going to have the success that is going to be expected of them. They're not going to have the success expected of a team with a payroll this high. It's just not going to happen. This team needs to be balanced. And again, the pressure is going to be on Brandon Staley. This is between both years, 2021 and 2022. This defense ranks number 25. So this is a bottom 7 defense with a top 5 payroll. So when you're looking at things objectively from the standpoint of what do the Chargers need to do to improve, yes, a lot of it was Joe. A lot of it was Joe Lombardi. A lot of it was the offense. A lot of it was the handcuffs, the shackling of Justin Herbert, him not really being able to be at his best due to play calling. Obviously, injury plays into it as well, too. Who's available to throw to? That's obviously a big key. But defensively, this team needs to get better on the defensive side of the ball, and it needs to start now. I think when you start looking at this team, right, there really is no leeway for Brandon Staley. The team has played 35 games under his tutelage, and again, this defense has gotten worse. They have regressed since Gus Bradley was in town as a defensive coordinator for the Chargers. And again, a lot of people don't like Gus Bradley, but if you didn't like his scheme, if you didn't like, the fact that he didn't blitz a lot and all of that stuff, none of it really matters because when it comes to numbers, that defense was way more effective, especially, in third downs and things like that. They were way more effective than this Brandon Staley-led defense. So, again, Brandon Staley has to get this defense corrected. I think the experimental phase, the honeymoon phase of the Brandon Staley era, it's officially over. When you have to meet with the owner, when you have to have a come to Jesus meeting with the owner, the honeymoon side of that is officially over. Brandon Staley is going to be on the hot seat, and the Chargers, they're not a team known to fire coaches during the season, but if the Chargers do start off very slow next year, I do think the pressure is going to be on. Again, and I talked about this a couple of days ago. If the Chargers were to come out and start 2-4, 2-5, what does that look like, right? What does that look like? How do they manage that going down the line, right? And especially depending on how the schedule is made up, right? If the Chargers are struggling and they have to go into a Kansas City and play Kansas City, or they have to, play a Raiders, right? Play a tough divisional game, and they end up losing, right? How does that come across? How does that come across to ownership? How does that come across, to the rest of the league, right? We know how it's going to come across to the fans, right? Us fans, we're obviously not going to be happy if anything like that were to happen. But how does that come across to ownership, right? They are ultimately the ones who make the decisions. Now, they're not going to hire a new offensive coordinator and then subsequently fire a new offensive coordinator 67 games into a season. Just not going to happen. It's not something that really happens in the NFL. But when you are looking at, who else could bear the brunt of a struggling Chargers situation next season, it's all going to be on Brandon Staley. And I think the fact that the Chargers have yet to make any moves defensively, it really, really, really puts pressure on Brandon Staley. This defense must get better. As far as we know, Ronaldo Hill is still the defensive coordinator on this team, right? He's still the defensive coordinator in name. Brandon Staley is the play caller. He is the game planner. So, I mean, in all intents and purposes, right, he is the de facto defensive coordinator on this team. But going forward, I think there has to be somebody else who Brandon Staley can go to, somebody else who he can, if for no other reason, right, place blame on. It can't just be him and Ronaldo Hill. If it is, again, this is going to be a lot of pressure on Brandon Staley. So I just wanted to come on here, man, just talk about that. If anybody was confused with my position, I thought that the Chargers should have canned Brandon Staley. I just don't think you can really come back from a 27 point blown lead. I just don't think you can successfully come back from that as a franchise. I think as a franchise, you have to move on from it, right? If there's remnants of something like that big of a disappointment left, normally that lingers, right? And we have a couple of case studies in the NFL where that type of stuff lingers, right? The most recent one was the Falcons. And I get that it was a Super Bowl. I know it was a bigger stage, but the Falcons have not even reached the playoffs since that 28-3 debacle in the Super Bowl, right? Everybody was affected by it. Coaching, players, they obviously had to blow it up, right? They had to start fresh, brand new, right? New quarterback, new coach. They had to do all of that type of stuff to really try to get rid of that bad taste in their mouth. Now, I'm not saying the Chargers need to do that or that's necessary at this point, but normally when you see that type of upset happen, that type of meltdown happen right in front of your eyes, it normally lingers. And I think having the same coaching staff, having the same guys around, to me, it just doesn't really, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence going forward as a fan, because what is going to change, right? Really, what's going to change? The only thing that can change is Brandon Staley's speeches from week in and week out. Still going to be the same defensive scheme. Everything's going to be the same about it. So for me, I am not in the position that Brandon Staley should be back, but he is back, right? They didn't fire him. He kept his job, and this is typically what happens in the Chargers organization, right? They normally hold on a year too long, and the franchise has been set back several times because of it, and to me, this is just no different. I mean, the Chargers franchise, the front office, they are essentially, insane, right? They can be described as insane because they are going to do the same things and expect different results. And for me, that is the most frustrating thing. Again, this is the same coach. This is the same defense. The Chargers spent a bunch of money, in free agency last offseason. So a lot of the same guys are coming back. This is going to be the same defense. So to expect the same defense to have a, marked improvement, to me, is just a little foolhardy, right? Again, it's hoping and wishing. Normally, when you want your defense to, take that next step or go to that next level, you do things as a franchise to make that happen, right? Whether it's, getting the personnel that you need, whether it's coaching. But normally, when you see a bad defense and you say, okay, we can get better and not make any moves towards actually getting better, bring all the same people back, same coaches, you normally don't get better. So again, man, this is something that is going to haunt the Chargers until they do something positive, right? Unless they get over that hump, this is going to be something that lingers around the team. And again, I was not a proponent of bringing Brandon Staley back, but I mean, he's back. He is going to be back. I think it's going to change the landscape of the coaching carousel. The Sean Payton stuff. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh is going back to Michigan for another year. I wouldn't be surprised if Sean Payton stayed at Fox for another year. He's getting paid really well, and he's living in L.A. He likes it. Over here on the West Coast. So I wouldn't be surprised if everything kind of stands pat until next year, right? And again, the pressure, the same pressure that Brandon Staley was feeling down the stretch of this season, is going to be there next season as well. So it's going to be something that he's going to have to deal with. He's going to have to navigate it, and he's going to have to do his best to try to get his team to a level where expectations are being met. And again, getting to the playoffs is just not going to cut it next year. They got to the playoffs this year, and I believe that's why he kept his job. But just getting to the playoffs, just getting a wild card, going out and, not advancing is going to be a recipe for disaster for him. They got to win. They got to win a playoff game, and it's up to him. It's going to be up to Brandon Staley. It's going to be up to this defense. I expect the offense to play a lot better under a new coordinator, so I don't think that is going to be much of an issue next year. I think the defense is going to be the thing that lingers. How much can they improve, right? If they can improve at all, how much can they improve? Obviously, the defensive running game is still going to be a big issue until the Chargers show that they can stop it. But we're going to be talking about this all offseason long, and I just wanted to come on here and clarify my position. I don't think he should have came back, but hey, what can we do about it now, right? He is back, so the expectations are in place, and if he doesn't meet them, I don't expect Brandon Staley to live out his 4-year contract. I honestly don't expect it, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens going forward. But I just wanted to come on here and clarify my position on Brandon Staley, just in case there wasn't anybody who watched my previous videos or understood what my position is. That is officially my position. He's back, and we got to deal with him for another year. So we'll see how it goes. But that's all I got for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Really appreciate it. Shout out to my new subscribers. I really appreciate you guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing down below. And don't forget to smash that like button on the way out as well, too. I'll be back again with more content tomorrow. And until next time.